Hello, everyone. Welcome to From the Heart. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Mary.
And we're excited to bring you all that's new and good when it comes to the arts in Central Florida.
Today we're talking with Eric Smith, director of A Gift for Music. We look forward to learning about Eric's musical journey that brought him to us today. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, Eric, we're so glad that you're here. So we learned in the last segment that Mary started out her musical journey on sticks, otherwise known as a violin. But you play the violin. So why did you pick that instrument, and tell us about how that's impacted your life?
Sure. Well, I picked violin in middle school after having played piano ever since I was 3 years old. We used to go to my grandma's house, and she had this wonderful organ, and she would plop me down on the organ bench and play little notes on the keyboard and see if I could repeat them by ear. And she would hum melodies and see if I could play them. And that's really how I got started in music. And so I continued with with piano lessons from the age of 3 all the way until middle school. I got into middle school and I couldn't play piano in the school. So I said, okay, I asked myself, what instrument am I going to play? And so I tried band for a little while, and I tried orchestra and choir. I loved choir too, but I finally settled on orchestra because my orchestra teacher was the friendliest lady in the world, and really she hooked me. Betsy Goff was her name, and
A shout out to Betsy.
a shout out to Betsy. Well,
Eric's
actually,
here because of Betsy.
she a lot of her friends teach in Orange County Public Schools, and she unfortunately passed away a couple years ago from cancer. And she was just an incredible musician who got me started. And I think in a lot of ways, I've been involved with music education because of her impact on me. I mean, I just loved being a part of her orchestra program. To give you an example, during the summers, she used to get a group of string quartet musicians together, and they would actually come to my parents' house, and we would rehearse with Miss Goff in my living room. So, I mean, such an incredible music educator, and that really got me started. And so I continued with violin all the way through high school, got to the University of Central Florida, where I auditioned on violin, and played with the UCF Symphony all 5 years I was at UCF.
And didn't you meet someone pretty special in your life?
I did, yes. My last year at UCF, that August, I was auditioning for the UCF orchestra. I thought for sure I was going to land the concertmaster spot, the best coveted spot of the orchestra. And I was sitting, practicing, waiting for my turn, and then this girl walks in, and she was a freshman. She unpacked her violin and played a 4-octave G major scale, perfectly in tune and super fast. And I said, I'm toast. There's no way I'm going to land this spot now after all this practice. And it turns out, I know she's going to watch this, but it turns out I beat her, but only by 1 spot. We actually sat right next to each other, and 6 months later, we were dating, and 4 years after that, we got married.
Wow.
And so I met my wife in the UCF orchestra.
So that G chord was what was love
That
at
G
first
major
sight.
scale, yes. Every time she plays one, it just gets my heart
That's a
racing.
pitter-patter.
Right.
Just makes you wonder if it were a scale in E.
Right.
Would you be
would've
married?
No, there's no,
See?
no, I'm kidding.
You
Absolutely.
don't know.
Anything in minor.
Right, no, it would have been that.
That's so funny.
How does the art change children?
That's a great question. I think music changes students in so many important ways. The number one thing is it's so collaborative. I mean, we live in a world, I think, where there's a lot of competition, even among children, and to be a part of an orchestra is really to be a part of a team. And to get that across to students is so important. And I think they feel successful. I think, when you talk to students in orchestra, one of the first things they'll tell you, especially if they're with an Orange County Public School orchestra, is, they tell you, oh, my orchestra gets straight superiors at the state festival and that sort of thing. And that means a lot. I mean, they are proud of the team on which they, play their instruments. And so that's huge. But also, all the scientific benefits that are proven that music actually has on students.
Like?
Well, my favorite is the improvement in math scores. I think it's true, and I think it's true because just a couple years ago there was a Wall Street Journal article on top brain versus bottom brain, which apparently is replacing the right brain versus left brain. And so top brain versus bottom brain applies, I'll tell you first how it applies in math, but then how it applies in music. In a math problem, say for instance, you get a complicated word problem. You're trying to figure it out. The top brain takes those words and really develops a plan. How am I going to do this? Where the bottom brain fits in is takes the math problem and says, okay, I know how to do math. I've translated it into a math formula. Boom, I'm on my way. I know how to add, I know how to subtract, that sort of thing. Similarly with music, the bottom brain is great in music. That is the part that is focused on the notes. Like when I see an F sharp on the score, I know how to play F sharp on my violin. It's almost automatic. But the top brain is really responsible for understanding how to make the music, how to emulate the voice. I love it.
Yeah, it was like this enlightening moment for both of us.
And how to make real decisions, real musical decisions in how you play the instrument. And so, you know, when research is done in studies involving math and music, I find it obvious almost that music students actually do much better in math. And then there's critical listening too. We live in a world where people love to talk, but don't necessarily love to listen. In fact, very few students are actually taught how to listen. And that's where we begin with music. Really, if you can't listen to music, it's very hard to make music.
That's interesting. We all hear of critical thinking, but critical listening.
That's right.
Explain, how would you describe critical listening, the
So-
process of it? How do you teach it?
Sure. It's difficult at first because when students listen to music, especially classical music for the first time, it's really almost on an identification basis where they're talking about, okay, what instruments do you hear? Very important, but sort of the base level. But as we keep getting more and more complicated subjects with music, we learn about the form. Students can hear whether or not instruments are out of tune. They can hear parts that they like, parts that they don't like. I mean, there's some sort of judgment, not to be judgmental, but actually to have a valid opinion and to justify that opinion with music. Those are important skills to have.
This is fascinating. I
Yeah,
wish
it
we
is.
had more time to continue so we could critically listen
Yeah.
more.
Sure, I know. Well, you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
As are you. And we're going to be back with you in just a little while, so thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
We're going to be back with Eric Smith to hear a little bit about what the future might hold for his organization and, of course, for his career. Thank you for joining us from the Heart.